Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about current meta and the changes. The seasons in Pokemon Go change with the natural season, so that means like every 3 months we have a moveset update that can be Pokemon getting new attacks, or it can be attacks getting nerfed or buffed. And I think at this point, this is only an assumption from what I've seen right now, is that after every world, after every summer, we get a massive update like we have right now. I think the moveset update we have this time, we've never had something like this before. It's going to change a lot of the top usage, as you can see in this whole list here on the blog. But, this is a lot of information. What does it actually do for us? A lot of the counts that you might know for specific attacks, to charge attacks, they change. And there are some content creators that make graphics for this. This guy's one of my favorites. To do so, you really want to get those specific numbers though, because the blog doesn't always say so. And just graphics or blog posts with this attack now generates more energy, this does nothing for you. It only gives you an idea of what might be better, but it will not be, it doesn't say a lot, right? And especially for an attack like Metal Claw, we had no idea how good that was going to be or not, and it was going to depend on the change if it actually was going to make Pokemon like Ferrothorn or Registeel overpowered. But yeah, now that we know the moveset update, that's no longer the case. Let's start with a meta-analysis for the Go Battle League. I'm not going to talk about a specific meta, but how do you see this? It's actually quite simple to get a first good look at it. You just go to PvPoke and you look at the meta you want to look at. You'll see a top usage, and that's probably already a good indication of what's going to be meta and what not. Now, do be careful though, because PvPoke consists of a sim hero top ranking, meaning that Pokemon like Lucario, that gets a power punch bait in the one shields every single time, does a little better than it actually might do in practice. So if I take a look at the Open Great League, for example, I could either play top meta, and in Go Battle League right now, that is Clodsire for Alligator. They're unbreakable. Perfect. I can play very flexible with that. What I also could do, and that is more of my playstyle, is play anti-meta. And what I notice a lot in the Go Battle League, just simply by playing, there's a lot of teams weak to Charge Bug, but it makes sense. Who would run Charge Bug right now when Clodsire is so meta, right? If you look at the top meta, you kind of don't want to use Pokemon that are weak to both Clodsire and Feraligatr. But it could be a high reward, high risk, high reward to actually use it. So, team that I've been using for a bit: Dewgong, Charjabug, and Kanto Marowak, which has insane 2-shield scenarios matchups, right? Just because of the sheer Mudslap plus Bone Club combination. That is how I read the meta here. Went pretty well myself. Of course, my way is not the only way, and it's just an example of how you could see it. And that goes for every league, really. But the Go Battle League has only so much depth. And if you're familiar with my content, you'll know that there'll be show 6 talk here, and that is actually what I'm more interested in as well, simply because there's so much more depth and so much more strategy to show 6. So to start off, I played a practice tournament myself in my own server, and this is the team that I used. My first draft was a combination of hard meta and anti-meta. So obviously hard meta, Clodsire for Alligator, just gives you a lot of play in this meta, just because they have play into everything. So that means as a competitor, you will hardly ever really get hard countered as long as you play these Pokemon or make a good strategy with it. As for viewer experience, you're probably always going to see these 2 Pokemon everywhere. And then I have Pokemon like Diggersby to defeat both Clodsire and Feraligatr. Chestnut does well into both, except Clodsire with Sludge Bomb. Wigglytuff checks Pokemon like Feraligatr and Dragon-type Pokemon and Fighting-type Pokemon. Especially like Machamp can really run through your team if you don't have a check. And then I have Goodra, listed here as Power Wave by accident, but it's actually Thunder Punch to also have play into Clodsire and Feraligatr. I went 4-1 in a tournament, which is a pretty good result. But now we have had 5 tournaments this week already. Next weekend is going to be the first regional championship in Baltimore, and it's going to be super cool to see what actually everyone cooked up. However, with these practice tournaments, I usually already have a pretty good idea of what it's going to be. So these Pokemon here are going to be top meta. This data is from 189 teams. And as you can see, 140 Clodsire and 126 Feraligatr, of which 97 are Shadow, shows that it's going to be a very narrow meta. That's likely what you're going to see for the next 3 months or so, unless there's going to be a community day coming up in October or November. That's gonna be impactful. It's definitely not gonna be the Rapidash coming out in September. Below you see some of the winning teams, which show that yes, there's always Clodsire for Alligator, but everything around it really seems to be different, right? We see a Dugong, we see Azumarill, we see Shadow, Typhlosion, Ferrothorn, Superior, Diggersby. There's actually a good variation of everything around Clodsire and Feraligatr. These practice tournaments are a great way to practice for upcoming regional and international championships, or if you are just looking to try it out, and especially if you haven't tried it out yet, right? It's good to have some feeling with it. You can scan the QR code to get a direct link to my Discord server if you're not in there already, and that way you can go to the check-in live channel, and there I will post a schedule plus the links 1 hour before we start. Everyone is welcome to join. There's no disputes or extensions in these tournaments, so they won't take longer than 30 minutes around as well. And yeah, make sure that you have an account on Dracoviz. If you want to join, you should have that anyway if you play Show 6, simply because it's the easiest open source where anyone can make a tournament and invite anyone in. I make these graphics every week, or I try to at least, so we all have good insight in what is going to be meta, or what's going to be popular, what can you adapt to, and maybe there's some winning teams you can try out if you don't have any yourself. So that's basically just a short explanation of how I read the meta, how I would approach it. There's not really a better between meta and anti-meta. Both can work, and it really depends on, for one, what you're comfortable with, but also, what do you have? Not everyone has a Shadow for Alligator, for example, because they're a little bit limited to get, right? There's hopefully they're in the rocket rotation, and you also need to be able to TM frustration off, so it can be frustrating. Thank you for watching, hope you learned a little bit, and see you in the next video.